Hello world, hello internet, and welcome to the 9th episode of the 2023 Nix Developer Dialogues. I am Valentin, your host. My host name is Frickler Handwerk, and this show is supposed to give you more of an idea of how at least some of open source is being made today. And we've already talked about money and how people, individuals, sustain themselves, the role of commercial actors in the open source ecosystem. And today we'll talk about public funding and the big picture and strategies and visions for a potential future of open source and the internet. And before we start, let me remind our great live audience, thank you for being here today, to post your questions and comments to the channel you're watching this from. We also have a matrix room, which is linked in the show description on the NixOS discourse. And if you want to be part of the show, you're free to join the studio. You will find the link in the calendar event for today's episode. And now let's welcome our guest today, Ronny Lam from NLnet. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Hi, Ronny. Thanks for joining. So our topic today is, actually, I forgot the topic today. It was, did you try asking public funding in the open source ecosystem? We'll get to that in a minute. But first, let's introduce yourself a little bit. You're a program manager at NLnet, and you support open source projects essentially with assigning grants and supervising, overseeing them to get them to completion. Introduce yourself a little bit. How did you come to open source? How did you get to NLnet? And what's the role of NLnet in all of this business?
Oh, yes, thank you. How did I start with open source? I think I started open source in 1995 or so, installing my first Red Hat system at that time. Then I switched to Slackware because that was more hardcore. And after that, or with that, I moved to starting internet or consulting with internet providers in the Netherlands. My cat is making sounds. Sorry. We started with the first cable modems in the southern part of the Netherlands, and started an internet provider with that, and all the things we did there were open source. So yeah, that's my start into open source, and everything after that, networking, software development, it was all open source after that. Yeah. I made some side steps into cloud services, but I think we all did. But I think it's still open source that makes the world. About NLnet, I started with NLnet like a little more than a year ago, and before that I was freelancing, and then I ran into Michiel Leenaars at MCH. He was looking for people for NLnet, and I was like, well, this is maybe the one and only thing that I want to give up my freelancing freedom for. This is the most cool thing that you want to do in the world, giving away money to open source developers in the world, and supporting them, and making the best of the internet.
Yeah, so how does NLnet do it, and why did it come into being? So NLnet has been around since the 80s and actually doing internet infrastructure for the Netherlands and later the entirety of Europe. And it switched course in end of the 90s to support building the open internet, as it says on the website. What does it do today?
Well, today maybe the one and only thing that we do is support open source projects, and indeed, NLnet started in the 80s. The cool thing is that I'm right now I am a board member of the NLUC, which is the Dutch Unix user group, and the NLUC was the founder in that days of NLnet. So yeah, this makes it full circle. And in the beginning, NLnet was more of the internet provider, and since the 90s or so, it switched into supporting open source projects. And since, let me say, a couple of years now, 6, 7, we get a lot of money from the European Commission to support even more open source projects.
How did that come? So essentially, I proposed this cheesy title for the show today. Why did you try asking? Because I've heard Michael, I've overheard him answer a question like, how did you come to get so much money from the European Commission? And reportedly, he said, did you try asking? Is that how it went?
Yes, I think that's how it went, but he knows the full story. And to be honest, I'm guessing right now. So yeah, but I think that's how it went indeed. And also, I think the thing is that the European Commission has a sweet spot for open source and for privacy. And for a better internet as a whole, I think, and that's why they propose things that they proposed recently. For example, the CRA, the Cyber Resilience Act, and so yeah, they want to support open source software, but the thing is, they are. What they normally do is they give away big budgets, and open source you cannot give very big budgets to open source projects. So
why not? Why not? Why can't you like give 50 million euro to the Nix Foundation?
Well, sounds cool, right?
Yeah, but why isn't it possible?
I think it has to be it has to do with governance. So you can't reliably send 50,000 euros or 50,000 you can, but 50 million to a small open source project. So what they essentially did is ask NLnet, give them the big budget and ask NLnet to partition that into small budgets for smaller open source projects, and essentially give everyone a chance, to get part of that cake.
So maybe you can tell a bit of the story how all of this NLnet NGI 0 NGI program came into being. You have a little presentation prepared. Do you want to share that?
I have a little presentation prepared. It's on my screen now. I'm reusing, by the way, a presentation of Michiel that he did in the summer of Nix in 2022. I adapted that, but I couldn't get it to work in the half an hour that I took to prepare it. So I'm reusing that. But I can also tell you then what the differences are.
Right. Everyone's invited to watch the talk from last year, which I think is fantastic, very insightful. So maybe you just provide some brief outline and then tell us what changed since.
Yeah, I don't know if my mouse is visible. So in here you still see the NGI Ashore logo, which is part of the NLnet program or the programs that we are supporting right now. But we are not accepting proposals anymore for NGI Ashore because that one is closing June next year. So yes, what we do is we have different. There we are. So we have NLnet, and which is the foundation, and we have NGI 0, which is a corporation of NLnet and multiple partners that are doing cool things. And one of the things that we do is with one of the partners is packaging with the help of the Nix Foundation. So NLnet, we just talked about it, was founded in the 80s and was at that time a small internet provider. And I can say that it started as a big thing in the Netherlands and grew out to Europe. Well, this is not true, so it's 40 plus 1. And since 1997, we are solely focusing on funding. And also, with open standards, open source, and open everything open with privacy in mind, of course. These are some of the projects that we are supporting, and there are many more, and there are many more to come. About NGI, which is the next generation internet. We are trying to build indeed the next generation internet. We are trying to improve on things that we think are broken right now. This is based on the study that was done in 2018, and as part of that, is it in here? No, it's not in here. We started with 2 funds, which was at that time NGI Discovery and NGI Zero Discovery and NGI Zero Pets. Currently, we have other programs, which I can show here on the website, which is NGI Zero Core and NGI Zero and Trust. And I think I see now that we moved some things because Entrust was here, but in January we will have a new fund, which is NGI Zero Commons. And this is a very interesting thing because this is a very big fund with very large possibilities.
So if I may interrupt with some questions.
Yes, exactly.
How do all of these funds differ? So there, if you look at the NLnet page, there's like a jungle of these different themes and funds and goals. And what is their respective purpose? Or do we even have to care? Or do we, like if you want to participate in this and propose a project to get a grant, do you have to only look at the last 1 or 2? How does it work?
Well, yes, and they differ in goal, and I think I must say they used to differ in goal, because once we moved to Zero Core, which is the current fund, and in January we still have Core, but we also have Commons. The goal is more or less broadened. So in the old days with Discovery and Pet and Entrust, the goals were more specific, but with the newer funds, they are more open. You can propose to one of the funds. And if we think it can fit in another fund, we can try to move you to that other fund. So you don't have to think about it yourself a lot.
Okay, so let's continue with your presentation. I suppose that these goals are now outlined. What are these goals?
Well, these goals are. You mean the goals for these specific funds?
Yeah, so you said the topics are fairly broad, but what are these specifically?
Well, these goals are to build, and do I have it in the presentation here? That's a good question, and I don't try to look for it because it will cost me time. These goals are to build a better, secure, more private friendly internet, which is open source and which can be reviewed by users. I think that's in the broadest sense. And that can be multiple things. That can be open source applications. But it can also mean open source hardware, because that's also very important. We see more and more open hardware projects currently, which is very interesting. And yeah, I think that's it basically.
How many of you are? Sorry, maybe you continue before I ask more questions because you want to show something. Sorry.
Well, I think the most important things have been shown. Let me look. I was trying to show you, where is it? How can we? Okay, here we are. So, what I was trying to show you is that we have a different kinds of way we fund projects. We do that by how do we say that? By letting you apply for money. What you do is you create a proposal. We review that proposal, and this can be a very short proposal. We do that every 2 months. So we have a call which closes every 2 months. The next call has been closed for December 1st, and the next one will close on February 1st. And if you go to NLnet.nl/propose, you see a very short form, and you can propose your project. We will review it. We will maybe ask you some questions about it, and yes, after that we might give you the money, and we don't give you the money at that moment, because what we do is we ask you to work on your project. You define some milestones in your project with different tasks. You deliver on those tasks, and then you say, well, and now here you are. We delivered on this. Can you review it, and can you send us the money? That's how we work.
And you're funding a lot of projects, in the hundreds of them over the course of the past years. How many are you at NLnet to manage all of this?
We are we just grew to 11 people. Let me check, because NLnet is growing, and that is because of all the funds that we are now managing, and all the projects we are helping. So yeah, we are with 11. We just grew 2 people, and yeah.
So in the second part of the show, we want to talk about the role of Nix in all of this. But before we get into that, how does the structure work? So you have these large funds. How large are they, by the way? How much money is it that you're spending on open source?
I'm not sure that I
on
can.
the order of.
Well, what?
On the order of, is it like
It's
100 million? Is it 1
at
million?
well, we are more in a couple of tens of millions. We are currently managing. Yeah.
So how does it work? Is the only thing that you're doing giving one or the other project 50,000 euro, or maybe what's the amount of money a project can apply for?
Yeah. So what we do is so for your first proposal, you can ask for a maximum of 50,000 euros. It has to be based on the effort that you put into it, of course, and with normal based on normal rates, not commercial consultancy rates, of course. And for your first project, it can be around it can be a maximum of 50,000 euros. But for an extension of that, we can raise that amount to a bit more. Just look at it as a first contract with an employer.
I've read on
And
the
then
page for I've read on the page for the NGI comments that you said in the beginning, giving a small open source project a lot of money is usually not even practical, because what would people do with that if they all they have is a small prototype?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's one thing, but and another thing is trust and governance. So this is for small projects, but you can also have a large project that can ask for money, and then we go and especially with commons, we can go to bigger grants. Yep.
Are there already large projects of the kind you're describing that have applied or that you're already supporting? Is, for
Yes,
instance,
we are
is Nix one of them?
Nix is not one of the projects that we are supporting, and that has a reason. Nix is a partner within almost all the NGI Zero projects, so we cannot fund Nix directly. But what we do is so one of the things that we do is within every fund we have partners for specific things that can help the projects with those specific things that they offer. So we have a partner for localization. We have a partner for accessibility, which is very helpful, of course. We have a partner that can help you with community building. We have a partner that can help you with and we have a partner that can help you with packaging. Oh, and don't forget the licensing partner that we have. Yes.
Security audits as well, I think.
And security audits, yes.
And so this is how the NGI Zero coalition supports the NixOS Foundation, like indirectly.
Indirectly, indeed, yes. So every partner does get a part of that chunk of money, and with that chunk of money, they can support the projects with those specific needs. And yes, one of the specific needs that there might be is, and that we also encourage, is Nix packaging, because that makes it easy to share these projects with users.
Okay, let me remind our audience to send us your questions and comments if you have any. We still have time. There's many more topics that we can talk about, and you can help run the show by asking your questions. Don't be shy. I have more though. I have an infinite stream of questions. Probably not the best ones always, but so you're already getting into this. What's the role of Nix, and why did NLnet choose the NixOS Foundation for this coalition? Why wouldn't we, for instance, packages for Debian, because Debian is much more widespread?
Yes, we chose Nix, and we might also have chosen Geeks as a general packaging platform that works on, well, almost any distribution. And that is the whole reason, that is one of the reasons that we choose to partner with Nixos. And the other part is to make it reproducible, which is also very important. Because well, I until a year ago, to be honest, I hadn't heard of Nix at all. I learned Nix at NLnet, and I'm now running Nixos, and I like it a lot. And yes, it's I think it's very easy to just install a package through Nix, and it just works.
Yeah, this is actually one of the questions I had in mind about, like, are you actually using the software project that you're funding through NLnet? Are NLnet people and the partners in the coalition, in the end, I sometimes heard it being called a consortium. Are they using the projects that are funded through the program?
Yes, they are being used, and we know that because once in a while we get feedback from a user or see a blog post from a user, and yes, I think that's very nice. And I think one thing is also good to mention is that we are running our systems with Nixos. And yeah, that's also very easy to do a remote update of your systems from your own system, and Nix just let you do that.
Maybe you can go back to your presentation and show that one particular slide I liked a lot from last time about the role of Nix in this large open source ecosystem that you're supporting. What's the strategic importance of Nix in this whole construct?
Yes, but don't share my screen just yet, because I will have to look for it. Let me, this costs time. I think this is not the best thing to do now. No, let's just don't.
Let's just don't then. But maybe you can tell us. So what you said, open hardware is another thing. What strategy is NLnet following? So I suppose it's not just as general as just make more open source stuff, right? Is there a particular direction this is taking at the moment?
I don't think I understand your question completely. Are we going in a particular direction? No, we are. It's no. It's open. It's no.
Yeah, I was trying to get it. So for Summer of Nix, so essentially I'm your counterpart on the NixOS Foundation side with helping to organize Summer of Nix, which is this partnership support program for the projects NLnet is funding. And we discussed in the beginning of this year how we can focus on a subset of those hundreds of projects that are funded through NLnet. And one or two of these things were open hardware and self-hosting capabilities for people using open source software. So just to name the two, are there other focuses that you're trying to follow more deliberately? Or is it more guided by people proposing?
Well, yes, we are. And also, I can announce now that there is a new, is it NGI? it's at least one thing that we support, which is and you see from the project Fediversity. And what Fediversity is trying to do, I mean, thank you for that hint about hosting, is that this project, in order to get to many people in the world, it must be very.
I just mute that for a second.
Okay, this welcome to the Netherlands.
Oh, there was some delay. I'm sorry.
So, welcome to the Netherlands. Let me tell you what just happened. This is the first Monday of the month, and every first Monday of the month we have an alert which sounds all through the neighborhoods. It's like an alarm. And well, once every of those first Mondays of the month, they also do that through SMS. So this was an alert SMS.
Bypasses your silencing of
it
phone, right?
Bypasses my silence indeed, which is good.
Probably.
Okay.
Right. Where were we? Fediversity.
So Fediversity, in order to get more and more users to use open source products, it's not only, I mean, the geeks are installing those projects on their laptops. They are running Linux, but most of the users, let's be honest, are using other operating systems, and don't have the ability to install open source projects very easily. So what we are trying to do now, together with the Fediversity projects or through the Fediversity project, is make it possible for service providers or hosting providers to let you install those projects very easily. So it would be very welcome if we have multiple hosting providers that have a dashboard where you can click, okay, I want this Mastodon, I want this Matrix, and you just click it, it gets to work for you. It makes a domain. It does everything. So that is what the Fediversity project is doing, and that is something that we are supporting very much, in order to get these open source projects on the systems of every user in the world.
Yeah, and for everyone who knows or uses NixOS, they will realize that the platform is perfectly suitable for that. And now we'll get into audience questions and talk more about Summer of Nix, because this show is also for Summer of Nix participants to share more insights about how the larger ecosystem works and meet people and get in touch. And Ivan already joined the discussion, said, "Hi, Ronny, Summer of Nix participant here. Great, thanks for the project." So we had Summer of Nix participants asking for some feedback on what's been happening and what's your perspective on the role of the Nix ecosystem for this whole thing. So I'll just read it aloud. Could you please give us some publicly appropriate feedback on Summer of Nix? How did you see it from your NLnet side of things?
Yes, I think we love Summer of Nix. Well, let me start with earlier. We love packaging these projects, and in order to do that, we started out with the Summer of Nix some summers ago, and yes, this is very important to get all these NLnet, or let me say NGI projects, packaged and out there in the world. And so for that, the Summer of Nix is very important and very helpful. But let me add to that sometimes it's also important to get some packages out in between Summer of Nixes, and that's why we also are working now together with you on packaging outside the Summer of Nix.
Right, maybe for some context, because in the last show, Matthias, who was the initial organizer of the first Summer of Nix in 2021, we unfortunately didn't get to some background stories because we ran out of time at some point. The idea of Summer of Nix is just a label for this support program that the NixOS Foundation is implementing and as part of the NGI Zero consortium collective, however you call it. So there was a label to kind of have concentrated, orchestrated work focused on one particular topic, and it was called Summer of Nix. And now we're running this for the third year now in 2023, and we still have budget to do this for another 2 years at least, and hopefully for a much longer time. Apparently, there is some money left in the new Commons Fund, and let's see how that works out. There's another question from a Summer of Nix participant that we had prepared over the past weeks. What is the vision for NGI packages, this new monorepo that Summer of Nix participants have been building, and those packaging efforts going forward? Can you tell us more about this monorepo approach?
Yes, well, the idea was that you mentioned the monorepo is that if you install the sorry, I got distracted here. So that if you that you can install all of the packages within one repo. So that if you get one, you get them all, and we think that's very helpful instead of packaging them all by their own and trying to get them in the ecosystem. And I think it's also very helpful for the guys that are packaging to have them in just one repo, so that they can be linked internally.
Yeah, it also definitely helps with keeping them in sync and updated with the base package set, Nix packages on top of which everything is built. So here's another question from an anonymous user on the NixOS Owncast, which is self-hosted. If I applied for an NLnet fund for some project and they would grant me that fund, so you would grant them that fund, what would happen if I couldn't do the project then because, for example, health issues or any other real-life thing getting in the way?
In that case, there is no problem at all. I mean, yes, we would love to have that project come to life, but we know that we are working with people, that we are working sometimes with individuals, and that things might happen, might change, or anything else. Just let us know. We can discuss with each other what to do. Maybe we can adapt your project a little bit and make an amendment to it, or maybe you want to stop the project at all, and no problems there. Then we can reuse those funds for other projects.
Is that something that happens often? How often do projects actually conclude?
It doesn't happen a lot, especially projects that are quitting. But what we do see is that projects need to be amended sometimes because of changes in personal settings or changes in environments. Which is not a problem at all.
Here's a question from Lee, which I think is interesting. I asked NGI help to fund work to distribute the binary cache, by which I think he means the NixOS public binary cache. So the cost of distributing binaries wouldn't kill the NixOS Foundation financially. So for those who don't know, the public binary cache by the Nix Foundation is currently sponsored by various commercial actors, but is also a running cost for the foundation, which is quite significant. However, that was denied. Does NGI think, or NLnet in this case, this is a priority?
Yes, I do think this is a priority. However, this is the thing that we cannot fund Nix Foundation directly. So because the Nix Foundation is a partner, we cannot fund Nix projects directly, which is a difficult thing. Yeah.
Oh, so even if Lee, as an individual, I mean, he is an individual community member, would apply for this type of project that would benefit the Nix Foundation directly, that wouldn't work.
It would only work if it would benefit the world as a whole, which I think it does. So I'm not actually exactly sure why this has been denied. It could also be quality. So well, I am not one of the reviewers of projects, so I don't know the specifics about this. So the only thing I can do now is guessing.
So how does that actually work? So you get applications in before the deadline. How are projects selected? So you said the criteria are fairly broad, but who does the selection and how does that work?
So we have multiple people that are in the selection committee, the reviewers, and we just grew a couple of reviewers. Because the amount of projects that are applying for funds is growing. So what we do is we have a first selection. So every 2 months we close a call, and we do our first selection of projects based on goals, on feasibility, on quality, and then a couple of projects go into a second round. They will receive some questions, some additional questions, and based on that, on those answers, we will send those projects to an external reviewing committee, and after that, when they also think this is a good idea, then we go into the process of writing together with the project a memorandum of understanding, kind of a contract, to get your grant.
Who is that external review committee? How is that composed? Who decides who that is?
The external review committee is our reviewers that are not part of NLnet, that are working in the fields, and they are selected by NLnet, and this is the people that review NLnet themselves. So I don't the commissioners that review NLnet. This is a translation thing. We call it Raad van Toezicht, but yes, but we select them there. It's a broad field. It's a worldwide committee of independent people.
Okay, we have another question from the audience. An anonymous user is asking, how many applications does NLnet get? Is it in the hundreds or thousands or 10,000s? How? What's that?
It's around 200 or so every 2 months. Yeah, So if you count that up in a year, we go into the thousands.
And can anyone apply? Anyone in the world?
Almost. Because this is funded by the European Commission, all the projects need to have a European footprint, which is very important.
What does that
So
mean? Do you have to be a EU resident?
Well, at least one of the members needs to be EU resident, and the more EU focused the project is, the better.
Isn't that hard to determine with open source if you do something very general like a library or a piece of hardware?
Yes, and that's why it's not very hard. I mean, but yeah, I mean, to be honest, yeah, it's European money, so they decide. That's not that's not within our thing that we decide on. But we try to smooth it out as flexible as possible.
Maybe let's talk about the European Union a little bit. So we said in the beginning, did you try asking how did this process work? So if there were a second NGI1 consortium, how would they apply for that scale of budget? How did it work for the NGI0?
Well, that's a question that Michiel can answer very much better. But
maybe roughly.
Maybe roughly, yes. There are once in a while there is a call on the EC on the European Commission website, where you can apply for funds, and they set the goals. Everyone can apply for those, and you have to also make a proposal of in what you are gonna do, and yeah, then you can get those funds too. And we did that. We just did that again with the NGI Commons Fund, NGI Zero Commons Fund, I must say, and successful.
So here's another audience.
Yeah, but yes, I mean, and we had some. There were others that applied for that. So yeah, we could have lost it to another party.
Sorry, another question from the audience, and the same user as who asked how many applications there are. How does the boring paper stuff work? Like, if one receives funds, how to do federal taxes and such work if one applies as an individual? And do you have to apply as an individual, or can you do it as a company? Maybe before that.
You can do both. You can apply as an individual or as a company. But because so we are a and now I lost a translation there. We give you the money. I really need this translation now.
Some technical term.
It's not a technical term. It's damn. We give you the money, and it is a.
Yeah, look it up. Don't worry. These bureaucratic things are sometimes a bit special, apparently. I mean, we had the same problem with Summer of Nix, that individuals who work on those Summer of Nix tasks, that they repeatedly ask, how does it work? Do I have to pay VAT? Do I have to take care of my own social security?
Exactly. And these are important questions.
Because it may turn out that amount X may actually be amount X minus 21%, right? For VAT.
Yes. So
shall I show your screen?
what?
Shall I show your screen?
You can show me my screen. Yes, that's no problem. Because on my screen is the webpage which says that we have a tax authority status, and that we are a philanthropic non-profit foundation. So that and I was this is stupid. I was looking for the word donation. So the money that we give you is a donation, and in most countries, a donation, at least in the Netherlands, and it differs for different countries, but in most countries, a donation is tax-free, or in a flexible tax regime. And I can only tell you what it to make sure for the Netherlands. But so in the Netherlands, it's a tax-free donation that we do. That is for individuals. And for companies, it's a bit more difficult. We also then it also is a donation, but you have to add that donation to the income of your company, etc., etc.
So to be clear, everything that NLnet does on behalf or for the European Commission is non-profit work, right?
It is exactly non-profit work, yes.
And this is why you said in the beginning that the budget that you calculate is supposed to have reasonable rates as opposed to for-profit, say, consultancy rates.
Yep.
So here's, I suppose this may be from Jos, who we originally intended to have as part of the show, but he couldn't make it. And I don't know, it's an anonymous user, I'm just guessing here. NLnet gives donations, no VAT is involved. Companies can apply too. You may have to pay taxes on the donation depending on your country and other income. NLnet does not take care of your social security or insurance. That's what sounds very official, I suppose.
Yes.
It's a colleague of yours.
Thank you very much, Jos.
So you're multiple program managers at NLnet. Jos is one of them. If I remember correctly, he's taking care of the review fund. These things are called funds. Are they like literally funds, like an investment into open source? Can you imagine it like that?
Yes, they're called funds because it's an amount of money that we receive, we call that a funds. And at the donation side, we put it into programs, which projects that we are trying to help. And you mentioned the NGI review program, and this is something that you cannot apply for funds directly for. But we invented the NGI Zero Review program to help programs that were in previous funds or in other NGI funds that don't have services like packaging. They can ask the NGI Zero Review fund to help with those services. So you will not get, when you apply for that, you will not get money directly, but you will get services.
Right, so we're slowly running out of time. And here I have, before I ask my next question, I would like to ask our live audience who's here today to put more comments and questions into the show. We have like 6 more minutes with Ronny today. Would be great to have your input and you being part of the show. I would like to know the following. a bit of a technical detail, because originally I wrote in the show description that you're a project manager at NLnet, which is not true. You're a program manager. What's the difference between project management and program management? What is it that you do with these projects apart from just approving grant proposals?
Yeah, what's in the name? I guess we call it program manager because I manage multiple projects, and it's not that I manage the projects themselves, but I try to get the projects on board whenever. You just froze there. I will repeat what I said. So, as a program manager, I try to keep the projects on board, and whenever a project is lagging, we don't get.
Yeah, we'll just try to continue. This is live. Yeah, apparently that is on my side.
It could also be my side because I am on cellular because I am in between fiber internet providers.
Yeah, technology once again strikes again. Let's see what we can do. Just wait another minute. So I can hear and see you again. Let's try it again. Okay.
So what's happened could also be could have been on my side because I am in between fiber internet providers. One just cut me off, and the other hasn't delivered my hardware yet. So my house is on cellular right now. So I think this was on my side. So as a program manager, so a program is multiple projects, and we try to keep all the projects alive and on board. And when we don't hear back from a project for a longer time, which is multiple months, we contact them and like, hey, how are you doing? And can we help you out? And that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think technology is striking us very hard.
Yeah, apparently there's a problem on my end, so internet infrastructure strikes again. I hope that some of that got through. For me, it was choppy. We'll continue with the last question for today and then wrap up. There's another question by the same user as with the number of applications. How does the application feedback work? If you get so many applications, do people get an explanation why one of them was denied, and how fine-grained is the answer?
So not everyone gets at first an explanation why they got denied, but you can always ask for why you have been denied. So yeah, it saves us time to not do that. And what we see is that 10 to 20% of the projects that get denied ask for feedback. Yeah, and we give that. We give that nicely, respectfully, so that you can. It might help you with your next proposal.
So last, more personal question to you from my side, and maybe there's another one from the audience, which is great to have more of your questions and comments. What are you specifically looking forward in terms of the next couple of years? What projects do you think are really hot? What are you awaiting to finally land in the open source ecosystem?
Wow, that is a broad question. I think open hardware is one of the things that we are focusing on right now. Another thing is more platform solutions, and of course, I think it's very important that we get this all the projects that could be in this Fediversity project. That we get those to work and to get those solutions to the broad public.
Well, what do you mean by the platform approach?
Well, so the platform approach is that if that we work more that we things that can support other things. So, for example, we have a project called Tauri, which is an open source variant of Electron, a web framework, and well, those kind of projects that can help other projects very much. I think that is also very, very helpful.
So essentially building blocks for literally the next generation internet.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, Ronny, thank you very much for being here. Sorry for the technical inconveniences. I hope to see everyone again on Thursday, December 7th, in a couple of days at 10:30 UTC, where we will meet Sergey Kozlukov, who will talk about deep learning and AI applications in Nix packages. It will be, again, a more technical interview or discussion dialogue. And until then, see you at the next episode of the 2023 Nix Developer Dialogues. Thank you very much, everyone. And until next time, bye-bye.
Bye.